Hey Robert, how's it going? Great to have you here. First of all, I mean, the way I usually do these videos, I've gone through your footage a couple of times, so I kind of know what I'm going to point out, but I'll make sure to watch it through one more time together with you, and I'll kind of just point out the things that I've kind of noticed when it comes to your game, where I have some tips and tricks for you that I really think is going to help you, especially on that goal of becoming one of the 100 best players in Holland, which I'm really confident that you're going to figure out. I'm very impressed with your tennis so far. But yeah, going back to how this is going to work, we're going to watch it through one more time together, and then in the end I'll make sure to do a summary where I'll break it down everything for you just to make it crystal clear, all the things that we've kind of gone through, so you know exactly what the next steps are. All right, Robert, so we begin here looking at some of your backhands, and like first of all, I really like your movement. I'm very impressed. You move very fluently around the court. And you did mention like that maybe you're a little late or something on your forehand, but I must admit, from watching all your footage, I'm very confident that you actually make contact a little too early on the ball. And the reason why it feels late to you is because you rotate too early as well. So then it feels like the ball is behind you because you're over rotated, but instead it's the opposite way. If you're more rotated, you can make contact further back. So it's kind of like, it tricks you a little bit. It might be a little complicated to think about it like that, but just to clarify, if we look at these shots here, you have a tendency to take the ball too early. You see here, for example, that you take early and then you end up pushing it. And we can kind of see that very evidently on the release in your wrist. So I'm sure you've watched a lot of other guys hitting one-handed backhands like Wawrinka, Roger, all those guys. But when you make contact, you want to make contact and continue forward, but you want the wrist to kind of release as you're hitting through it. Release and at the same time, so you want to get into the strong wrist. But you see here on your wrist, you're kind of, when you're hitting it, you're kind of staying with it because you make contact too early, so you're kind of pushing it. And what that kind of makes is you have to kind of like push it, and your wrist becomes kind of stiff because you don't have any release to it. So you're making contact a little too early, I would say pretty much every time on your backhand, which kind of makes you feel that you have to kind of like push the ball forward. You want to make contact in the power slot so you can fully just accelerate through it and push forward if you want to. But now it's like every ball, you're there, but then last second you have to push forward a little bit because you're too far away from the ball every time, like literally every time. And this could really affect your consistency. And like just from watching this, I can see that you really struggle going down the line, because when you have to push the ball, it's very hard to push it down the line with any pace. So this shot, for example, when you went down the line, so I'm very confident that this is like the best way you can hit it down the line, because your body's just not rotated enough. And that's why you make contact too far in front, and that's why you end up pushing it. So like, I can kind of give it away already, but the biggest thing for you is just getting more rotation on your backhand. You get rotated, but then you just open up too early and you kind of hit your backhand very much facing forward, okay? So you just need to get more comfortable hitting the backhand with more of the back shoulder, because that's where you're really strong. Like, you're just so much stronger. So this one was actually one of the best ones, because you stayed turned a little bit more through this one. Just a tiny bit better. But most of these, you see how you kind of just finish like this every time. And the way you want it to go, like, just last thing, just to clarify it. So when you're hitting your backhand, because you're hitting it too far in front, you kind of make contact and your whole body just kind of rotates with it as you're pushing it. Everything just kind of goes together. The way you want it to be is you want to make contact, release the arm, and as you get to this part, that's when the body is going to come with you. Okay, so it's going to be like the push from the legs, everything into the contact, release, and then turn. The issue with you is kind of like you're pushing everything, you make contact, and you release at the same time, or release and rotate at the same time. So you want to release and then rotate. So then you rotate naturally as the arm kind of goes through. But what you're doing is you're kind of forcing the rotation. So you're kind of hitting it, and then everything is rotating together. And what that really does is it really affects your kind of whip effect. It's kind of like a whip, but in the end of the whip, you're kind of like freezing the whip. It's almost like like in the end of the whip, if you know, like a whip, you would kind of make it stiff, so everything's loose and loose, and then it's like a stiff part in the end, and that's just really gonna affect the amount of snap you're gonna get in the end. So that's what really happens when you kind of just open up too early, and like you want to just get that kind of order and connection together. And yeah, it's just really evident from when you try to go down the line that very often you end up hitting the ball more towards the middle, because you're just rotating it. You can't get any power down the line. All the power is going to be too much kind of like rotated with it over and over again. So that's really something that needs to improve. So that was kind of like your down the line back, and I'm very confident that this is kind of how it looks like when you play matches as well. So you see what I mean? You kind of hit it like this. So I hope that made sense. I'll go through it more in the summary just to kind of clarify and what the kind of steps are going forward with this one. But moving into the forehand, and I must admit, like, or it's kind of funny, pretty much every tennis player that I know, including myself, kind of have the same tendencies all around the game. So for example, if you rotate too early on the backhand, most people do the same thing on the forehand. And I haven't seen your serve here, but it's usually, it's kind of funny, but everybody has the same kind of tendencies throughout their game in all different areas. So you can kind of guess there that one of the issues with your forehand is actually that you make contact a little too early, but that's kind of a result from you not staying rotated enough, and your left arm just kind of disappears too often, so you're very open when you make contact. And what this does is just kind of dislocates a little bit of your body, so everything is just a little too open, and your arm is just working by itself a little too much here in the end. So if you look at this one in slow motion here, so you see here how much the left arm is gone from you. So then last second here, you have to kind of like push it together so your whole body just doesn't like fly away to the left, because your left arm is so far open. Where you want your left arm right now, or you can kind of see here, like you're just about to make contact and your body is like, it's almost, or it is more turned like this. And when you want to make contact with your forehand, you want the arms or the shoulders to be more leveled at contact. And the way to keep the shoulders leveled so they don't fly away like this, because if you start hitting more open with the shoulder, that just takes away a lot of your power and a lot of your accuracy as well. It's much harder to time the ball and kind of get your power and body weight behind it when you're open with the shoulders. So I hope you understand what I mean, but you want the shoulders at contact to kind of be parallel with the baseline at the most. Some people are even more kind of turned backwards at contact, but absolute most you want to be parallel with the baseline. So the way we can do this, we can kind of look at, I hope you see here, so that's where you kind of like get open, but then in order to kind of like not completely fall away, you end up like pushing together a little bit with the left hand, because you're, and then I've seen it a lot of times in your forehand, your arm kind of just goes up and stuff, and that's very natural because you're too far in front and you're trying to like kind of find a solution for the spot you're in. So as you're rotating up here, as you see, like when my shoulder is open like this, your arm is gonna want to go way too much to the left, and the only way you can kind of like circumvent that is by pushing it up instead. So you can kind of like trick it and help you keep the ball to where you want to go. But if we get that shoulder more turned, we're gonna be able to just release that arm much more leveled, and it's gonna be much more in the same kind of height and trajectory of where you want to get the ball going. So I hope that makes sense. And it's just all about, it all comes down to the shoulder turn, to be honest. Like you're just way too open, and that really just messes up with the consistency. So we can just keep seeing it a lot of times on the forehand, how open you are with the shoulders here. So that one was actually not bad. This was one of your better ones. I like this one. Here your shoulders are kind of leveled at contact, but the left arm is still very open. Like it's just changing that, where the left arm placement So that one was low. Obviously, you're going cross court, so you had to kind of do that one in order to. Yeah, so you see there it's the same thing. Like maybe it was a little bad bounce as well, but it's kind of the hitting up there is kind of a way to push the ball more forward, so you can get it like where you want it to go. It's kind of like obviously you're very clever in your body, so like you figure out a way to work around it, like with your left arm just being very swavy. And a lot of people, they kind of focus on the right arm so much, but it really is like when it comes to the rotation and stuff, it really is the left arm that kind of dictates where your power, where your body weight and everything goes. So it really comes down to using that left arm a little smarter. So it's just a lot of these forehands, I saw like when you just end up like everything just becomes a little like dislocated and a little flaky as well, with the left arm trying to like work together with each other somehow. That was good. So they're good like every now and then, but it really like every time they're bad, if I want to say that. It all just kind of comes down to the rotation for you, that you really open up too much or too early. And I really have a lot of, and like their rotation is also kind of the timing issue or timing thing, because they all kind of tie together. So when you rotate, you're too early on the ball. You need to wait for the ball a little bit more, and then as you're making contact, you want to make sure to stay more turned instead of opening up. So they very combined. But we can look through a couple more, but then I kind of want to go into the summary while I just break down it for you and just kind of go into the solution or like the kind of drills and things that I really think is going to help you a lot. Just look at the left hand here. It's just very open, and that just kind of makes that, like, even though you have a ball here you can move forward on, it just ends up being, you see how far in front you're making contact with the ball. It's just like you just can't grip the ball when it's too far in front of you. So you can kind of see here, if we're going to go like frame by frame, where you want to make contact is, like you're almost already too late here. Like you wanted to already make contact earlier than this. Let's see if I can find the perfect frame, sorry. I mean, at least somewhere here is the latest you want to make contact, but you can look here, there you're even one frame further forward. So you just see how much you have to kind of end up pushing the ball forward. And you just see, obviously you're maybe not hitting the ball perfect, but you just see how fluffy it becomes as an approach up because it's too far in front. So you just lose all the kind of explosiveness that you push from the legs, and you just end up being very pushy instead. So I really have some great ideas for you. So I'll just move into the summary while I just kind of break it down for you there. All right, Robert, welcome to the summary here. So kind of the key word for you, I just wrote it a little tiny up here, but it's the shoulders. So we need to work on getting the shoulders in the right spot, and it kind of translates into the rotation and the release and all those kind of things. But I really want to find that key part that's going to help so much more kind of come together. But before we get into the shoulders, we want to go into the little timing trick that I have for you, and it's called bounce hit. And I hear you grunting a little bit when you hit the ball, and just I want to keep doing that, but it's just a way that we can kind of help when it comes to the timing, because one of the issues that I told you when it comes to your game is that you take the ball a little too early sometimes, and that does come a lot from just timing. Obviously you're kind of comfortable taking the ball early, and that's kind of what you're very used to as well, so it's just kind of where you want to start with it. But when it comes to the bounce hit, and it's kind of a way to help you time the ball, I do that personally, and I know pretty much every pro on the tour does it. And the way this works is like when the ball bounces, you want to load with the bounce. So load and then hit, load, hit. So it's bounce, hit, bounce, hit. And that's just going to help you a lot with the timing, because even though you do it correct a lot of times, the ones that you kind of end up mistiming or just missing the ball. I can really see you kind of forgetting about just missing on the timing. So if you keep thinking about the bounce hit, it's just going to help you get a lot more consistent there. But then when you got that down, we're going to move into the backhand first. And what I want you to do is I want you to exaggerate turn at contact. So I want you to be really turned at contact. I want you to be like using your back shoulder a lot more for power. And it's very important there, like all these are kind of with the same objective. The last thing is I want you to release and then turn. So this is the most important one. And in order to do the release and then turn, you need to exaggerate the turn of contact, and you need to hit more with your back shoulder. We do not want you to release and turn at the same time. So I hope you understand what that means, as I kind of mentioned it a lot in the video, but just to kind of reiterate that a little bit. If I'm hitting towards there, so that's the court, what I want you to do is at contact, I want you to stay a lot more turned and kind of make contact. And you can almost hit contact and like look backwards if you want, just to kind of get that feeling. Obviously, I don't want you to do that when you're playing a match, but just kind of get the feeling of getting that turn and just hitting with the back shoulder. And in order to you really use that one, you have to be very turned at contact. You're going to realize that when you release with the back shoulder, it's going to naturally turn after. So you're going to release and then the turn comes, okay? So this is by far the most important one for your backhand, because right now you're kind of hitting it here, and then you make contact and you release and turn at the same time. And that's what we don't want to do, okay? So I want you to try to stay more turned, use the bounce hit. So bounce, so you load with the bounce and then you hit, and try to really extend that. Really hit with that back shoulder, release, and then you're gonna feel automatically you're gonna turn with it after you do the release, okay? Then we're gonna move into the forehands, okay? And the only thing I want you to focus on when it comes to the forehand is I want your left arm to go to the left chest. I don't know if you can, sorry, to the left chest, okay? So I want your left arm to go to the left chest. And when I want you to do that is at contact, when you're about to accelerate towards the ball. Right now, your left arm is kind of going like this. As you're about to accelerate, you're starting to accelerate, and your left arm goes, it just goes here, okay? Where I want your left arm to go, I want your left arm to go to the left chest, okay? So I want you to accelerate to the left chest. You're just gonna feel that that's gonna help you keep your shoulders leveled to the baseline by the most, or at the most, as I kind of mentioned through there. That is very important for you to just keep that shoulders leveled, and that's going to help you a lot more getting that release. And it's the same thing here in the forehand and backhand. I want you to get that release, and then you can turn with the body. A lot of times on your forehand, it kind of happens that you, as arms open, you're kind of hitting and turning at the same time. So it's always release first and then turn. Release first and then turn, okay? And then last but not least, I want you to kind of like try this. This is also like the whole thing, the whole kind of theme for you is with the shoulders, getting more turned in order to get the release first, and then you turn up with the body. So release with the arm, and then the body can kind of follow naturally. And another way that we can kind of try this, so I want you to try this out. If you feel like you get it down with this, just don't bother with this one, but I really want you to have this one as well. And this one is just on both forehand and backhands. I want you to extend the back leg, okay? So I can kind of show you that in the video as well. So extending the back leg is kind of I like to think of it like a horse kick almost. So we can look at your backhands. So the back leg here on the backhand is going to be the left leg. Sorry, out of frame here. And when you think about just kicking that like at contact, like trying to extend that leg, it's going to help you kind of become like your body's in the middle, and then your arm is going to go out and your leg is going to go out. It's really going to help you get that extension and release that we're after. So here we look at this backhand. I want to get backhand more in frame. So look at this backhand. So at contact. So you see here how, because you make contact too early, your back or your left leg is just gonna like follow in there as you're rotating up with your body a little bit. And what I want you to do is at contact, I want you to release that left leg, like extend it at contact more, longer. I'll show another video just to clarify that one a little bit. All right, so this was the best video I could find, sorry. So we just look at this one, just really look at contact, how he kind of pushes out that left leg. So when it comes in, and look at also what I've been mentioning about the shoulder turn. So you're gonna really see very clear that he's gonna release and then the body's gonna turn. But at contact, look at how the legs is gonna push a little bit backwards at the same time as he's getting that release. And you see he gets the release and then now his body is turning, okay? So I hope that just clarified it a little bit. So I hope all these made sense. You have it here one more time, and I'm really excited to hear how it goes for you. Best of luck, and I really believe that you have what it takes in order to get to crack the top 100 when it comes to Holland players. I really believe there it's going to be awesome. And just going forward, I feel like it might be more, because the level you're at, as you start getting this down, I really feel like you're at the level where a lot of it comes down to kind of tactical stuff instead, like more strategic, figuring out like how you can best use up your game. So maybe for the next one, it would be great to see like a little bit of match play. And I feel like I could give you a lot of tips there when it comes to kind of like tactical ideas when it comes to your game, because I feel like I can see very clearly what your strengths are and weaknesses more in the game setting, and just kind of build something around there so you know exactly what you're always trying to do when it comes to every match. And that really is the key factor to winning more matches when you compete. So hope that all made sense, Robert, and best of luck out there, and I'll see you soon again. Take care.